All right, let's go ahead and do the first video for Notes 37 here. These videos, this first section is going to be on the first two problems, which are word problems, where you, or we, are going to create systems of equations. So the first question here, we have someone who has some coins. So let's see what we got. We have 36 coins. We've got, in that 36, we've got nickels, we've got dimes, and the total value of the coins was $2.90. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an equation based off of the number of coins. So I'm also going to make sure that when I write these word problems, these systems, I'm going to use descriptive variables. X and Y are great, but that's not going to help me if I'm talking about nickels and dimes. So nickels plus dimes. So N is going to represent the total number of nickels. D is going to represent the total number of dimes. So if I take all my nickels plus all my dimes, that is going to get me 36 coins. So this first equation here is going to be based off of the quantity. And so now I want to talk about the value. And so there's a couple ways to do this. I will be honest, I take these problems for money and I tend to write them in terms of pennies. And what I mean by that is when we talk about the cost or the value of a nickel, and I say, okay, well, it's worth 5 cents. If I do 5N, that's actually making it that each nickel is worth 5 pennies, which works, that's fine. And then when we talk about dimes, that would be 10 pennies per dime. And then for this amount, this value of $2.90, I'm not going to put 2.90. I need to turn it into pennies. So that would be 290 pennies. Now, we've talked about these problems in terms of these are going to pretty much always be the little asterisk problem here. That's going to be a calculator problem. So what I'm going to do here is I want to now solve this system. And how am I going to solve it? Well, I'm either going to set it up to eliminate N or I want to set it up to eliminate D. Does it matter which one? Absolutely not. But I'm going to take this top equation and let's say I want to eliminate N. So this bottom equation has a positive 5N. So that means I want to make this top equation have a negative 5N. So I'm going to need to take negative 5 times all the little pieces here. So negative 5N minus 5D equals, all right, negative 5 times 36 is not going to happen in my head. So let me grab my calculator. Let's see here. So 36 times negative 5, negative 180. And I'm going to leave the calculator up because I'm sure I will need it in a little bit. So now I'm going to take this equation right here, the original one for value, and the one I just created by multiplying the top equation through by negative 5. So 5N plus negative 5N gone. That's the whole elimination process. 10D minus 5D would be 5D. And then I want to do 290 plus, actually I could just do minus, but plus negative 180, so that would be 110. And then I want to divide both sides by 5. So let's see, divide by 5. All right, so D is equal to 22. All right, let me see if I can make this calculator disappear. Yeah, close enough. Okay. So the question I asked at the very beginning of this was how much of each coin did she have? So that means I want to know how many nickels and I want to know how many dimes. So this is going to tell me that I have 22 dimes. And how many nickels? Well, you knew you had 36 coins, so if you simply take 36 coins minus the 22 dimes, whatever is left over has to be the number of nickels. So that should be 14. Yeah, 14 plus 22, that makes 36. All right, so that is the first problem here for these word problems involving systems. Let's see if we take a look at question number 2. Very similar question. Okay, and I'll leave up so you can see all of number 1 as well while I'm working through number 2 here. All right, so this time instead of talking about coins, we have apples. All right, so apples that were 75 cents each. Pears, slightly cheaper, so 50 cents each. She brought a total of 14 and spent $8.50. Okay. So first thing again is I go with a quantity equation here. So if I take all my apples plus all the pears, that is 14 pieces of fruit. So that's my first equation. Then the second equation I want to create is what might be like a value equation. So each of those apples has a value of 75 cents. Each of the pears has a value of 50 cents. And then we spent a total of $8.50. But because I'm not using 0.75 and 0.50, I want to make sure I turn that $8.50 into cents. So $8.50 would be 850 pennies. All right, what do I want to eliminate? It does not matter. You can eliminate A for apples, you can eliminate P for pears. It does not matter. Let's say I want to eliminate the apples. All right, so I'm going to do a negative 75 to do the opposite of the positive 75 here. So multiply that all across. Minus 75p. Yeah, 14 times 75 is absolutely not going to happen. Come on. There we go. Make the calculator pop back up. So let's see. 14 times negative 75. Negative 1,050. All right. We're going to go ahead and combine these. So let's see. 75a minus 75. That's going to be gone. 50 minus 75 is negative 25. I don't know why I put that in the calculator. But I am going to put 850 minus 1050. So that should be negative 200. Let's go ahead and divide both sides by negative 25. So P is going to be equal to 8. Okay. So question I asked was how many of each did she buy? So this means I do want to talk about how many apples and make sure I spell the word pears correctly. All right, so pears, because P was standing for pears, so pears we have 8. And then for apples, well, same kind of situation we had last time. I know that I have a total of 14 pieces of fruit here. So if I simply take the 14, whoops, I don't know why I wrote 16, 14 minus 8, that will tell me the number of apples that I have. And if I can math, that should be 6. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. All right, go ahead and a little box around that one. I'll do a second video. I can already see the heading underneath this one for simplifying irrational expressions. I will do a separate video on that. But as always, let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll see you in the next one. Apparently I can't make the... Okay, let's get the video done. There we go.